cause real financial damage and as much as possible try to stop these projects from being completed. So on that level, logistically, it was a successful action. We caused $4 million worth of damage. The transformers were destroyed. They had to order new ones, and the construction process delayed by several months, which really wasn't too much considering that most of these reconstruction projects are, behind schedule. On a political level, it wasn't quite successful because people outside of the lower mainland of BC really didn't know why we had blown up a substation. And so on a political level, it wasn't quite as understood. And also because it was our first action and there wasn't a history of militancy in Canada at this point, even the people in Chief My Guns Near Life weren't too sure who we were and what was our point. So anyway, then we went to Ontario and we decided to target the Lytton plant, which was a Canadian subsidiary of the American company Lytton Systems. And at the time, they were, the Lytton System, Canada was building the guidance system to the cruise missile, which was at that point in the early 80s, was in the early stages of development and testing. It had not been actually manufactured or used. It was in the early stages of development, as I said. So once again, there was a popular struggle against the Lytton's involvement in producing the guidance system in Toronto that had been going on for several years. The cruise missile conversion project in Toronto and the Alliance for Nonviolent Action had been petitioning the government, writing letters. They'd been organizing demonstrations, had been leafleting workers at the plant, trying to convince them to pressure the management to use the plant for peaceful technology. And they've been engaged in all kinds of civil disobedience, and Gallup polls had also shown that 52% of the Canadian population were opposed to Canada having any role whatsoever in the nuclear arms race. And yet, the government continued to support the Lytton Systems plant by giving them $48 million worth of grants. This is 25 years ago, so that was a lot of money. Even it's still a lot of money. And so we decided to try to blow up the factory where the guidance system was being produced. We surveyed the site and found that at no time was it completely empty. There was a small night shift, but we still decided to go ahead with the bombing, but we were going to set up a number of precautions to make sure that the plant would be cleared and that the road in front of the plant would be blocked. So on the night of the action, there was a bomb threat phoned in, which the security guard, when they answered the phone, they also they listened to the bomb threat, but then they asked for it to be said again, and the woman hung up. And then we drove the van up in front of a glass wall security tower, which was at the plant because of all this civil disobedience and demonstrations. We could have driven the van, which was loaded with explosives, into an area where it couldn't be seen, but we drove it up purposefully on the lawn right in front of the security tower so they'd see us right away. Unfortunately, they didn't see us. We were in the van, and we looked up, and there they were reading magazines, the security guards inside the tower. And then the other precautionary measure we took was we left a box outside of the van, which was a spray-painted bright orange, with huge instructions to clear the building and blockade the road and a stick of dynamite unarmed on the top to show that we weren't kidding. Well, the security guards, when they finally did, when they got the bomb threat, they did go out, and when they saw the box, they thought that was the bomb. So they didn't get close enough to read the instructions. But they did go back and call the cops. The cops sent one car, and they arrived. And they did the same thing. They didn't get close enough to read the instructions. But even then, on the bomb threat, they had said, clear the building and block the road. But still, the building had not been cleared. Time was ticking. So this one cop called, and the bomb squad arrived. And when the bomb squad arrived, they did decide, I think we better clear the building. So they start clearing the building, but at the same time, the cops are within 30 meters of the van, which has an electronic timing device, and the radio transmissions between all these cops and the bomb squad prematurely set off the electronic timing device. So the bomb went off and 7 people were injured, 5 of them were cops. So this was obviously a very controversial bombing. We did not intend to hurt people, but people were injured. Fortunately, no one was killed. And of course, there's a lesson in this to never set a bomb in a building in which you're relying on the authorities to save people's lives. That was a big lesson that we learned in that action. But despite the fact that it was a very controversial action, it did not stop people from participating in anti-nuclear demonstrations or from protesting against the Lytton plant. And this is the myth that I'm trying to argue is not true. The pacifist movement in particular, and segments of the nonviolent direct action movement say, well, we shouldn't engage in militant direct action because it alienates the public. People won't get involved. There's no way that they're going to come out to demonstrations or be involved if you start engaging in any kind of militancy. And yet, I'm using us as an example because this was a very controversial action. And yet, 2 weeks after the bombing, there were 15,000 people showed up in Ottawa at a Refuse the Cruise rally, which was the largest number of people that had demonstrated at one place over this issue ever. A month later, they had another demonstration at the Lytton plant, and 700 people showed up, which was, again, the largest number of people that had ever shown up at a Lytton demonstration, despite the fact that the cops had press conferences in which they warned people that there was going to be a large police presence and they were going to have zero tolerance. And the mainstream group, Operation Dismantle, tripled its membership, and the population continued to oppose the testing of the cruise missile, which is what the Canadian government was planning. And most importantly, Ron Keating, the president of Lytton Systems Canada at the time, said that Lytton lost a contract to build the advanced version of the guidance system because of the bombing and the protesters. And I'm not trying to claim that the bombing itself prevented Lytton from getting another contract, but the combined efforts of the protesters and the bombing caused the mother plant of Lytton to not give the Toronto plant another contract. Capitalists don't like protests. They don't like political destabilization. They like a nice, stable, quiet, peaceful climate for their investments. So then we went back to BC, and the women's community was organizing against the Red Hot Video franchise, which had just come to BC. This was a franchise of porno stores called Red Hot Video, which sold pornographic material that was what we considered not sexual but violent, in the sense that it depicted women being given forced enemas, raped, and the women were clearly non-consenting, were clearly in pain in these videos, and many of them were depicting young girls or women who were made to appear to be young girls. Pardon? So anyways, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. Is everything okay? Is everything okay?
Yeah, for some reason it's, do you want to add me? I'm going to close the video for a second. I'm going to invite you again to view the webcam. It is shuttering. You're not even getting a full frame second right now. Okay? Yeah, I'm going to close it right now, and I'm going to invite you again. Sometimes, fortunately, I don't